I'm really excited because today we are going to be nerding out over green chrome shadows, specifically chrome shadows from Clionadh. I have been using Clionadh eyeshadows for over 6 years at this point, which is really crazy to say, but they have been a favorite of mine for a long time. And at the time that I'm making this video, they're actually having an anniversary sale, so I wanted to make this in-depth video on their greens. Affiliate codes do stack, so I'm going to go ahead and pop my code up on the screen now. And I actually have quite a bit of other Clionadh content, so I'm going to link all of it in the description box. And I've also included several favorites of mine in my previous nerding out over different colors videos, including blue-brown duochromes, green-brown duochromes, and chromes that have a blue-purple shift. If you have any questions, pop them down in the comments as well. I'm trying on all these shades I'm talking about today, so wish my eyelids luck. Okay, first we have the shade Calligraphy. This is the deepest, kind of grungiest shade that I'm including. This is a glitter type chrome shadow with a black base, and I actually don't think that it is described as being green per se. But to me, this one really does read as kind of a green-brown duochrome. It's described as shifting copper and gold and also having a hint of red. I think that this is a super interesting shade, not a traditional green by any means. And in my opinion, this is one of the most unique shadows that Clionadh has in their stained glass range. Okay, the next shade we have is called Deus, and this is a definite true chartreuse. This shade is in the glitter vibrant category, and as the name implies, a lot of the glitter type chromes are quite sparkly. The vibrant chromes tend to have a strong shift, and the shade shifts peach, lime, and aqua. I would say actually that Clionadh has quite a number of different variations of green shades that have kind of pink leaning shifts, but I think this is their only chartreuse. For a Clionadh shade, I do think that this one is a bit more on the textured side, and the sparkle particles are a little bit larger. The next shade we have is called Ripple. This is a glitter type chrome. This is actually one of the first shades that I ever tried from Clionadh. In general, I have so many favorites in this glitter chrome category. They have a lot of shades in this category that have a kind of semi-sheer base, which makes them extra glowy. And Ripple is described as having a sheer aqua green base with a blue-pink shift. I feel like the blue shift to me is quite a bit stronger than the pink shift. That's what I notice the most. And I've mentioned it before, but I'll mention it again. This is one of their shades that's available for under $10, and I think there's a bunch of really great options that are under that $10 mark or around that mark. All right, the next shade we have is Hedge Maze, and Hedge Maze is an earth vibrant multichrome. The earth vibrants are, in my opinion, one of the most unique categories of shadows that Clionadh has. In this category, we do have some more colorful shades like Hedge Maze, but we also have a bunch that are sort of neutrals with a twist. Hedge Maze is described as being a slate gray in its base with a gold, lime, and teal shift. This shade is a little bit grungy, a little bit moody, but it still has some brightness to it. And I would describe this shade to be overall pretty smooth in texture, as I find a lot of the other earth vibrants to be as well. All right, and the next shade we have is Gargoyle Light. This is one of my favorite greens from Clionadh. The Jeweled Light multichromes came about several years ago, and they are gray-based versions of the black-based multichromes that came out before them. A lot of people find them easier to work with, and in my experience, they're also easier to work with. Gargoyle Light is described as having a cool gray base and a silvery reflect with a minty green and pink shift. I was already a really big fan of the shade Gargoyle, but I love Gargoyle Light. I like that it's light yet so grungy, and that pink shift is so ethereal. All right, and the next shade I've actually talked about before in my video on green-brown duochromes. This is Vineyard. This is such a cool shade and a really kind of punchy, warm-toned version of a green-brown duochrome. It's described as having a wine base and a strong chartreuse aqua to pale blue shift. I do think that the blue shifts are definitely secondary to the green shifts, which is very strong, but definitely a shade that packs a lot of punch. I really enjoyed layering this one over a brown base. It's a shade I'm definitely happy to have sort of rediscovered in the process of making my green-brown duochrome video. Okay, the next shade I have is called Niello, and this is an electric multichrome. The electric shadows are known for being particularly shifty. I find a lot of them, especially the ones that came out originally, to be overall very smooth in texture. Niello is a shade I've come back to again and again. I definitely think it is one of the more unique electric chromes. It's described as having a dusty purple base, and it's got a gold, lime, and aqua shift. There are definitely shades in the Clionadh range that have stronger shifts than others, and Niello is definitely one that has a super strong, interesting shift. Okay, the next shade I have is called Vault, and this is a glitter multichrome eyeshadow. It's another shade I included in my green-brown duochrome video, and I really love this version of that type of shadow. As opposed to Vineyard, which is extremely warm-toned, this is a much more neutral version of that type of shade. It's got some semi-sheerness to it, and it's described as having a neutral brown base with a smaller glitter particle size, and it shifts predominantly emerald with some secondary purple and pink shifts. And as I mentioned, the glitter particles in this shade are smaller, especially compared to some of the other shades that are in the glitter type chrome category. All right, you can't make a video on Clionadh greens and not talk about the shade Mural. I feel like this has been a favorite of so many people for a long time, myself included. When it came out, people were absolutely losing their mind over it. It has this gorgeous minty base and a strong fiery shift. And despite this being, I want to say almost 4 years old at this point, it definitely does remain a favorite of mine. That's something that I can really say is special about the shades from Clionadh. A lot of them really withstand the test of time, not only in the performance of the formula holding up over time, but also the shades and the shifts. 4 years later, and this shade still feels special to me. Next shade we have is Trefoil Light, which is a jeweled light chrome shadow. The shade Trefoil was one of my original loves from Clionadh. That was the original black base version. To me, this shade is really just a beautiful foresty green chrome. It does have a bit of a green-blue shift, but I don't feel like the shift in it is particularly strong. I really like the glowiness and the shine of this shade. Next shadow is Citron, and Citron is a really cool shade because it's a deep iridescent multichrome shadow, and Clionadh, to my knowledge, is one of the first brands that did iridescent shadows that were made specifically with people of color in mind. I think that with iridescent shadows, something that you always have to keep in mind as a person of color is white cast. And they do have several other shadows in this category as well. I would say by and large, all of the shades in this category have a smooth texture. Citron is described as having a cool taupe base with a chartreuse, lime, and aqua shift. And on my skin tone, I could also use this as a highlighting shade. And of course, this shade would also be beautiful as an eyeshadow on people with lighter skin tones. All right, the next shade we have is Aureate, and this is probably in my top 10 shadows from Clionadh. This shade is incredibly show-stopping. The first time I tried it on, it completely took my breath away. It's described as being a deep iridescent duochrome, and it has a gray base with this grungy golden green shift. Definitely not a traditional green, but to me this shade still falls under the umbrella of green. As you may know, with chrome shadows, it's very hard to place a shadow in a category. The next shade we have is called Amalgam, and I want to say this is probably a very popular shade because I see it going in and out of stock quite a bit. This is a dimensional light shadow, and in general, I find that a lot of the shades that are in the dimensional light category are good neutrals with a twist. They tend to be very sparkly. Some of them are a little bit more textured, and this one is described as having a pale brown base. It's got medium sparkle particle size, and it shifts minty green, blue, and lavender. I would say the strongest shift in this shade is green, and this is another one that's giving green brown duochrome vibes. So another one to keep your eye on if you enjoy that type of shift. All right, next shade we have is Motif, and Motif is another electric multichrome. Shade-wise, this one actually reminds me quite a bit of Ripple, and I do think they're similar enough that I wouldn't recommend having them both, but of course the formulas feel totally different. Motif is described as being a cool green in base, and it has an aqua, indigo, and pink shift. Primarily, I'm seeing a green blue shift, especially when I use the mirror, and that is a shift similar to the one that Ripple has. Like Ripple, I would say that this one is very glowy as well. Its sparkle particles are a little bit smaller than Ripple, and it doesn't have the same sheerness to it that Ripple does. Okay, next shade we have is called Duke, and Duke is a glitter vibrant, so it's got a little bit more texture like some of the other glitter types do, and it's got a strong shift. This one I would describe as having a minty green base, and it definitely has a fiery pinky shift. I would say predominantly it has a pink shift, but you can also see some pale gold and orange. With some of these green to pink shifting chrome shades, I think deciding which one you might like will come down to the tone of the green base and the texture of the shadow. And that approach might help you narrow it down a bit. Okay, next shade we have is Patina Light, which is a jeweled light multichrome. And Patina was actually also one of my original loves from Clionadh. I was very much drawn to these rich chrome greens. In comparison to a shade like Trefoil Light, I would say that this shade has definitely a warmer tone to it. It definitely has some gold in it. And I would say it's also a touch grungier. I still very much enjoy the jeweled chrome shadows, but I know that a lot of other brands, including mainstream brands like Wet n Wild, are doing them as well. So I no longer feel like they're some of the most unique chrome shades that you can get from Clionadh. But of course, they are still really beautiful shades, and the performance of the formula is very reliable. The next shade we have is Sterling, and this is an electric multichrome shadow. I really enjoy this shade. To me, it is more like a shimmer than a chrome shadow, but I love how silvery, reflective, and ethereal this green is. I enjoy the tone of this shade so much that I wish that Clionadh had other silvery chromes kind of like it, like a silvery purple and a blue. To me, this shade doesn't have much of a chrome shift, but if you like light, ethereal, and cool toned greens, I think you would enjoy a shade like this. Next shade we have is Flagstone. This is a glitter multichrome shadow. This is another really pretty grungy green, and it's described as having a teal base that shifts green, aqua, and indigo. This is another example of a shade you can get from Clionadh for under $10 that really packs a punch. Some of these shades are actually my very favorite from the brand, and it's a great option if you enjoy grungy greens. The next shade we have is called Duchess, and Duchess is a glitter vibrant multichrome shadow. This shade I would describe as having a minty base with a hint of lime, and it shifts predominantly pink, peach, and chartreuse. And pink is definitely the strongest shift in this shade. To me, this is a shade that is very similar to Duke, and it's actually in the same category as well. In Duke, I think the tone of the pink is a little bit brighter versus in Duchess, it's a little bit more icy. So if you are deciding between those two shades, hopefully that helps. As I mentioned before, there's a lot of really great options when it comes to chromes that shift predominantly green to pink. Next shade we have is Courtyard, and Courtyard is one of the OG shadows that I tried from Clionadh as well. This is a vibrant type, and it's got predominantly a lime base with a pink shift, and it also has a golden shift. Like many of the other vibrant chrome shadows, it has quite a smooth texture, so I think a lot of people will find this texture to be quite approachable. It's not as sparkly as some of the other shades, so if sparkle is very important to you, then I would just say that the vibrant shades are more about shift and shine than sparkle. Tarnish is a dimensional multichrome, and as I mentioned, the dimensional multichromes are all about neutrals with a twist, shades that tend to be a little bit grungier, a little bit sparklier, but do have a bit more texture. Tarnish is a beautiful grungy green, and it has a golden shift. Another thing I want to mention about the dimensional light shades is that a lot of them have multicolored sparkles. In my opinion, it's part of what makes them look a little bit more dimensional. All right, next shade we have is Emblem, and Emblem is an electric multichrome. Now, this shade, I'll say right off the bat, is definitely giving me similar vibes to Duchess and Duke. So if you are drawn to that type of shadow, I would keep in mind that those three are somewhat similar. And just like a lot of the other OG electric multichromes, Emblem has quite a smooth base that I think would be approachable to a lot of different skin types. It has a minty green base with a strong pink and gold shift. Also, at a harsh angle, you can see a hint of peach. I would say primarily you're seeing a pink shift. The next shade we have is Royal Pear, and this is an earth vibrant. When this shade came out, I feel like it was a favorite for so many people. This is also primarily a green to pink shifting chrome, but the tone of this green is this beautiful mid-toned grungy green. I think the name Royal Pear is perfect for it. And it's got primarily a pink and golden shift. Like a lot of the other earth vibrant shadows, it has quite a smooth texture. It's got some sparkle, but I would say the sparkle particles are definitely a little bit smaller. Next shade we have is Kelp Forest, and what's really cool about this shade is that originally it is in the Deep Sea Treasures palette, but now it's also available as a single shadow, which is just a nice reminder that if you like some of the shades in Deep Sea Treasures but want to get one or two of them as a single, you can. This shade is described as having a cool brown base, and it shifts green, turquoise, and blue indigo. This is another shade that I kind of overlooked when I was doing my green-brown duochrome video. And it's really cool that Clionadh has a bunch of versions of that type of shade, but they're honestly all so different from one another. Next, we have the shade Lineage, and Lineage is a vibrant multichrome shadow. And right away, it strikes me as having similar vibes as Duchess, Duke, and Emblem. This shade is described as having a minty base that shifts pearly pink, gold, and lime. Like the other vibrant multichrome shadows, it has quite a smooth texture. And in case it's helpful, I feel like in general, the shades that have a smooth texture include the pearlescence, the vibrant shades, the earth vibrant shades, and the original electric multichromes. Of course, this is a generalization, but it could help you when you're looking at the catalog and trying to decide which texture might work best for you. And now we have had a chance to talk about and nerd out over 25 different green chrome shadows from Clionadh. There's truly so many green options, something for everyone. I know that we've been focused on Clionadh greens, but as I mentioned, I've made many other videos where I nerd out over Clionadh shadows. If you made it to the end of this video, please leave me some type of green emoji. Let me know what your favorite shades were, and if you tried any or are planning to add any to your wish list. If you'd like me to do this style of video again for Clionadh shadows, definitely let me know. As always, I really hope you found this video helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.